The main purpose of this is to provide some updates uh, regarding a murder that took place in Hernando a couple weeks ago in May, actually on May 17th. And I'm going to provide some updates. I think this is a good point in the process to provide updates to the public because transparency in these matters is very important. I know there's a community interest in knowing what happens. Uh, I'll preface that by saying at this juncture, there's only so many things I can share because it's an ongoing case. Uh, and then ultimately, I want to ask the public to help me. So I'm going to explain where we're at in this process and why it's important. And stick with me because I'm going to be asking the public for some help. So on May 17th, Hernando made an arrest of Edric Thornton. He's 49 years old for a murder that took place in the Hernando community. And the, I guess, the basis for that was there was a gathering, we'll call it a party, people hanging out outside playing cornhole, having a good time. And there were dozens of people there. It was just like any other normal weekend, people enjoying their summertime a little bit. And there was a confrontation between a couple individuals that escalated to a point where Edric Thornton ultimately shot the other individual, who's the victim in this case. And Mr. Thornton then fled the scene. He witnesses and people standing by called 911. The Hernando police responded very, very quickly. They were able to find Mr. Thornton as he was leaving the scene. They effectuated an arrest without any, notable consequences or problems. And then the investigation ensued. We believe that these two people knew each other, that this was not gang related, this was not indicative of a crime problem necessarily. This was two people that knew each other, and one had, at least in his own mind, a reason to be upset with the other. And so that conflict escalated, tragically resulting in death. Like I said, a lot of people saw it. Some people stuck around as first responders arrived. They tried to render aid to the victim. They were unsuccessful. They brought him to a hospital where he was pronounced dead because of a single gunshot wound. Like I said, some people stuck around as first responders showed up and did the best they could. Many people just got out of the way, which is fine. But we reached a point where it would be helpful if people that were around and saw things themselves or heard things themselves, that they would come forward. We do have witnesses already, but we believe there were more witnesses there than have actually made statements with the police. And going to talk to the police is hard. It's a little scary. Most people have never done it, and there's a certain anxiety with doing something you've never done, especially when it involves the loss of a life. And if you watch somebody get shot and killed, obviously that's a traumatic experience on its own. And like I mentioned, or I think I mentioned, this has caused a lot of pain in the community. The victim was very well loved, and so there's a lot of feelings and emotions involved in this, and so it's definitely a challenge to come forward and talk about it for anybody. But I'm encouraging and, in fact, begging the public that if you have firsthand knowledge of what happened, to please come forward. And if you're more comfortable coming straight to our office, we have investigators here that can accommodate you if there's any reason why you would have that preference. Our ability to seek justice on behalf of our deceased victim is greatly enhanced when we have witness participation. And we do have a strong case. We do have good witnesses now, but I'm a firm believer that more is more and more is better. And we want to be able to paint a very complete picture. And so we are asking people to please come forward, uh, and by way of just updating everybody where we are in the process. This obviously happened on May 17th. The defendant did make a request in the Hernando Municipal Court for a preliminary hearing and a bond hearing, which was scheduled for this morning. I showed up to do that personally. Uh, Once we got there, the defendant had a change of heart and decided to waive his preliminary hearing, and so his bond will stay at $1 million, which is the highest bond we have in our schedule for this type of incident. I was going to use the preliminary hearing as kind of an opportunity to provide an update to the community and solicit help. Even though we didn't have to go through with the hearing, I still wanted to give the community an update and ask for help. So I appreciate y'all for showing up for that. And I'm happy to answer the questions that I think I can at this point, knowing that the case still has to go to grand jury and would still eventually have to go to circuit court for a jury trial. So those dates have not been set. We don't comment on the timeline of a grand jury other than we try to be as efficient as possible in all cases, especially where there's a victim. With that in mind, I'll take questions.
Do you think the emotions and the volatility about the situation has made it more reticent to offer indication to your office? But because it seems like you say this has been a very active thing as far as response from people who knew the victim, people who knew the alleged shooter.
Yeah, I think you're right, and this, like I said, it's a situation where the two people involved, the shooter and the victim, they they knew each other in some way. I'm not saying they were had a long-standing relationship, but they knew each other, and this is a situation where it's probably easy to pick sides where you're probably friends with one or the other, and it's people are related. There's families involved, and so it's uncomfortable when you're saying something that might put someone off that you care about as well. And so it's a challenging dynamic to be in, and it's just hard, and that's why I'm just really asking nicely to please come forward if you have that information.
So Mr. Thornton is still at the adult detention center?
Yes, he remains in jail, and his $1 million bond remains intact. So if he makes that, then he'd get out, but probably won't.
But as of 11:11 this morning, he's still in jail.
That's right.
Could you tell us more information about the other defendant that was arrested?
Sure. So Miss Jones was arrested with him as they were leaving the scene. She's been charged with accessory after the fact and tampering with evidence. That case has to do with the actual murder weapon. The murder weapon was recovered, but there were attempts to hide that, and so her involvement is related to that.
And is she still being held or is she out?
She was able to make bond previously.
How
Yes.
many witnesses would you say were at that cornhole?
I don't want to marry myself to a number, but I'm going to say there were dozens, upwards of maybe 50 people at this kind of community gathering. Yes.
Can you share what kind of community gathering it was? I talked with one person back when it happened. They said they were there for a friend's baby shower. Is that the same event?
Yeah, so I don't want to say that it was a baby shower or a birthday. I can't be for certain. It was a party of some sort. It was a happy occasion for everybody until this happened.
Did the argument stem from the game of cornhole, or is this?
No, the conflict stems from things that happened well in advance of the gathering. I'll just say, out of respect for the victim and those that are grieving him, I don't want to go too far into things. I'll just simply say that it appears that both the shooter and the victim were spending time with the same female, and I won't elaborate on that anymore. Other than that is the root issue behind the conflict, and I put that out there to the public just so they know that this is not something where they should feel unsafe in their community. This is obviously a problem, but it's not a community. It's not like there's a community danger, like an ongoing rift about gang violence or anything like that. So, any other questions?
So in other words, this is like a crime of passion.
I would not call it a crime of passion. I think that he knew exactly what he was doing and what he was. I think that there was intent. I'm reluctant to use the phrase crime of passion because that gets used in a legal context. Right now, he is facing charge of murder. The way our law works in Mississippi, if you're ultimately indicted for first-degree murder, that puts you on notice for everything underneath it, which would include second-degree murder or manslaughter. Manslaughter would be more of a crime of passion or heat of the moment type of thing. Maybe second degree, but I will be presenting this as a first-degree murder case.
Could you tell us a little bit more information about the victim, who he was? You said that he was well known in the community.
In respect to his next of kin, I don't really want to go into many details about him. I know they're still going through their process of grieving. His name might be out there already. I just don't want to be the one to put it out there while I know they're still having a very hard time. I need the public's help, and so I'm asking for it, but I'm trying to respect them as much as I can. This case will be completely about the victim. Our whole quest will be to get justice for him. So that information will come out at the appropriate time, and maybe it is okay. I just want to err on the side of caution. I hope you can understand. All right, I can take one more question if you have one. All right, looks like we got it. Thank you all very much.
All right, what's the water?
That's right.
It's in-
Yes, sir.